Hey guys, this is MPU Central here. I'm coming at you with my first ever mock of the channel. This is a mock I just built today and is singular sitting, and I thought it was really fun and I wanted to showcase it because I think it sort of conveys a lot of what I want to do with the mocks on this channel if you're interested and want to stick around for that. And at the very end, I'll go over sort of the lore I have in mind for what I want to have in my medieval world and the kind of stuff I want to showcase. And I think you'll really like it, so you should definitely stick around to the very end. What we have here is what I call the Boglands. And the premise I went with this mock is that it sort of takes a slice out of the terrain in a way that you wouldn't necessarily see this from an eye level, but it sort of showcases like what it is like underneath, because the premise is that this knight following along this path falls into a mud pit on his horse, and his horse is being consumed in the mud. And I wanted to think the best way to showcase that was to sort of almost take a slice out of the mock. This also allowed me to very clearly conceal the entire back of the horse and keep it flush to the ground. And I think that creates a really dynamic look. The entire piece is actually made around this horse because I started with the premise of having a horse falling into a sort of mud pit. That was my initial premise, and the entire rest of the mock was built around that idea. And I think it actually turned out quite well in terms of what I envisioned and what ended up happening. The name of my channel is NPU Central, so of course we had to incorporate some sort of nice parts usage, and as you can see here, we have it in the form of these brown frogs, which represent a sort of mud ripple or mud disturbance from the horse, and I think it creates a lot more motion to the overall piece, and I really like what I was able to do with those frogs. Thankfully I had enough Harry Potter sets to incorporate them into the actual piece, which I'm really appreciative of. And of course, the other major element of this mock is this tree here. And I was trying to sort of go for an almost mangrove look. And I think I was able to accomplish that fairly well, especially in terms of when you look at the roots. This piece right here is also a semi-nice parts usage. This is, I believe it's from a friend's set. There's sort of two goals on either side, and that's how I got this piece right here. And I think it makes a really cool mangrove root, and I think I'm able to get that look pretty well in terms of just the overall shaping of the tree. So I'm actually very happy with how that turned out. And these sort of red vine pieces are from an Avatar set, and I think it just gives the tree a very different look, which is something I really wanted, because I wanted this land to kind of look a little uneasy and not like something you're traditionally used to seeing. And of course we have this guy sort of peeking out behind that tree, and I was able to accomplish that through the use of one of those superhero posing studs that I think really positions him pretty good on the tree. In theory, he would be like holding on to a branch in terms of like what I envision him doing, but I couldn't really figure out a way to angle him with a branch, so I used that posing stud, and I think it does the same kind of job, especially depending on the angle you're looking at it from. And I think it looks very foreboding back there, and I'm very happy with how that turned out. Now, in terms of the actual lore story I have for this set, I think you can kind of get a little bit based on just the actual look, but the premise is that the Boglands are this sort of desolate and not well-traveled area full of a lot of dangerous beings and people and creatures. So it's sort of been advised to not travel through this area, but there are still certain paths that are laid out that you can travel through. So this knight, either for some reason, has to travel through the Boglands. And while he's traveling on this path, he finds that the path has led him directly into this mud pit that is consuming his horse. And it's odd because this path actually has led him directly into this mud pit, which suggests that someone might have diverted the path. Who's up there? Perhaps it's a resident of the Boglands that is ready to attack. So overall, I'm really happy with how this mock came out, and I think it's going to be very emblematic of the types of mocks I want to be making in my future, that sort of really tell stories about in my own made-up medieval world, and maybe eventually I'll have better lore sort of to all connect it all. But I really like this sort of vignette scene that really communicates a story very quickly, that any sort of viewer can sort of grasp, and I really like that. And if you like this MOC, you might want to consider subscribing, because I plan to make more. I also really want to try and sort of video more of my process and like my creative process with making the MOCs. If that's something that would interest you, let me know in the comments. And why don't you also comment some additional lore I could add to this Boglands MOC. I always like a little bit of collaboration. So if you have an interesting idea for the story that could be told with this, I would be really appreciative of that. And anything else I could maybe even add in terms of additional future Boglands MOCs to really expand out this part of the world.